As Alison Pearson wittily pointed out in an open letter to climate-grifting developing nations in the Telegraph of London recently, Pakistan suffers floods not because of climate change, but because they chopped down all their trees. It has the highest rate of deforestation in the world and has gone from 33% forest in 1947 to 5% today. Quote, "Because of the lack of trees, the rain runs straight off the mountains into the silted up reservoirs, which then overflow. In addition, we would like to point out that Pakistan has always had major floods, many just as catastrophic as the recent one. Not every national disaster can be blamed on the United Kingdom, gratifying and lucrative though that accusation may be." Unquote. In short, according to Sunak, British taxpayers should reward Pakistanis for chopping down forests because climate change. Sunak is one of the leaders of the push to transfer wealth from developed nations to undeveloped ones under this bogus globalist program. Australia's Minister for the Pacific, Pat Conroy, has got the memo and snapped to attention, saying at COP27 he has fought very strongly for, quote, "loss and damage caused by climate change" to be included in the COP27 agenda because it's of specific interest to the Pacific nations. Well, of course it is. It's free money, mate. But the threat from Sunak goes far beyond him leading the redistribution of wealth to poor countries. He's a danger to democracy, for a start. In December 2021, 2 years after his Prime Minister Boris Johnson won a whopping 80-seat landslide victory in Britain, Sunak, as Chancellor of the Exchequer, started stymieing the government's policy agenda. The Guardian said, quote, "Sunak is effectively undermining every single one of Johnson's policy priorities. It is surely as brazen an act of political treachery as modern times have seen," unquote. Sunak was planning to take over even before Johnson resigned in July this year. Sunak is an advocate for central bank digital currencies, which would enable governments around the world to control the economic activities of citizens, much like China does already. His father-in-law is a founder of Infosys, a technology company that wants to introduce global digital IDs and has close ties to the World Economic Forum. If all that sounds like a conspiracy theory, have a look at the piece Sunak wrote for the Wall Street Journal yesterday, republished in the Australian today. It would be pretentious even if Sunak had been elected Prime Minister of a leading world economy, which of course he has not. His sense of assumed responsibility rings alarm bells more shrill than Lydia Thorpe at an Anzac Day barbecue. Quote, "The world will be looking to us to ensure the stability of international markets and to put the global economy back on path to growth. We must deliver, and we must not let Russia, as the chief architect of the current global economic strife, stand in our way," unquote. Excuse me? Russia is to blame for the world's current strife? You don't think that it might have something to do with the rush to expensive, unreliable, renewable energy? A rush that Sunak is trying as hard as he can to lead. On its own, this suicidal obsession with renewables is enough to plunge developed nations into poverty, which is a surefire way to increase the likelihood of famine and war. Sunak's quote goes on, quote, "Our collective economic security has been threatened by this war, so we need to get on with the job that the G20 was created to do in stewarding the global economy through the turbulence this act of aggression set off. In the UK, we are making the tough decisions necessary to restore our economic stability. With so many countries suffering, we need to take coordinated global action too." Well, you reckon Australia will be strong-armed into signing up to that coordinated global action? Does Anthony Albanese yearn to be a member of the jet-setting elites? Sunak's 5-point plan to steer the world out of economic trouble includes strengthening our energy security and reducing reliance on Russia by, quote, unlocking the investment needed to transition to renewable sources of power, unquote. Well, you lost me there, mate. And if response in Britain is anything to go by, you're losing the punters there too. Better call an election and get a mandate for all these grand visions. Or are elections not part of your globalist agenda?